News Services Division of Akashvani presents Northeast Diary.
Good evening. Welcome to this edition of Northeast Diary, bringing you the latest developments of India's unexplored Northeast region. Today, we bring you an interview with author and IAS officer Ashish Kundra, where he talks about his book entitled A Resurgent Northeast, Narratives of Change. We will also get to know about the significance of Samlek Sukh, Motar and Pestle in Mizo household. But for now, let's go over to Tripura, where we'll talk about state's luscious mangoes. Mango, one of the most sought-after fruits in the country for its distinct taste and flavor. The fruit, relished by young and old, alike attracts good market within the country and abroad as well. Tripura, which is known for mass production of rubber, betel nut and bamboo, also produces different types of mangoes. In a far-flung Gandachara village in Dhalai district of the state, a farmer is pioneering in producing different types of these luscious mangoes. More details in this report filed by our Agartala correspondent.
Mere thought of savouring mango makes our mouth watering. However, on a very few occasions we notice about the variety of mango that we relish. What if someone who craves to have mango gets not one or two but 25 types of mango varieties on his platter at the same time? This will certainly be like a dream come true for that individual. Well, to believe it, come visit the farm of Pragyan Chakma, a young farmer from Gandachara in Tripura, credited for producing 25 types of mango varieties. Some of the prominent varieties among them are Miyazaki, which is originally grown in Japan and is one of the costliest mangoes in the world. Then comes American Palmer, homegrown Amrapali, and a banana-shaped mango which is eaten in the same way by peeling off ripe banana.
ये बागान में मेरा 25 वैरायटी मैंगो है। तो वैरायटी का नाम है, थाई वैरायटी है, अमेरिकन पाल्मर है, जापानी मियाजाकी मैंगो है और अम्रपाली भी है, मेजर अम्रपाली भी है। हाँ, इंडियन है। और खटीमुन तो 12 महीने में होते हैं। खटीमुन थाईलैंड वैरायटी है। आइडिया मिलते हैं, लेकिन जो एक रेन में रहते हैं, वो मेरा एक फ्रेंड वहाँ पे खेती करते हैं मैंगो के, तो अब साथ में करते हैं। तो साथ में तो पूरा ईयर में आम रहते हैं। Yearly income 5 lakhs होते हैं।
Pragyan, who lives with his family at Tonghar, the bamboo-made stilt house in the farm to prevent animals from destroying the crop, says he attracts profit of around 4 to 5 lakh rupees annually. He says since mixed varieties of fruits can be grown in his farm, he takes up production of dragon fruit when there is no mango season. The success story of this young farmer will definitely inspire more youth to take up innovative and unconventional methods of farming in days to come. Kunal Shinde for Northeast Diary from Agartala.
Mizoram, an agricultural society, has a long history revolving around farming and its produce. Rice is a main staple food of the Mizo people and an instrument to process paddy. Some, Motar and Sukh pestle, is one of the oldest known tangible items possessed in every dwelling of a Mizo family. However, with modernization and mechanization sweeping society, its usage has declined a lot, mainly due to the availability of user-friendly machines and electronic devices. Today we'll be discussing about the significance of this item for the Mizos, especially in the olden days.
Trying to buy a traditional wooden mortar and pestle set in the city market these days would take more energy than you think. There are no separate shops for them. You would only find them in a few hardware stores and crockery shops. In Aizawl, currently their price ranges generally from rupees 200 to 2,500. These are made by craftsmen from villages from the city itself or imported from neighboring countries like Myanmar. Men crafted them from selected strong woods, and the women would use them at home mainly for husking rice and other food items that can be pounded. Mortar and pestle would be the first item to be added whenever anyone shifts homes. They were generally placed at sumhun, which is like an entryway. If a home doesn't possess the sum and suk, it would be as clear as saying they were willing to starve. They used it every day to husk rice and pound other foods and seeds. Such is the importance of this item at home. Mr. Vanal Huma Singson, an archaeologist from Art and Culture Department, Government of Mizoram, said the people in the past held the mortar and pestle very dear to them in terms of domestic chores and culture. In the olden days, in the pre-Christian era, Mizos worshipped their own deities and offered pigs, chicken, goats, etc. and offered sacrifice to their local deities. It seemed they used a mortar and pestle to grind the food for these sacrificial domestic animals.
Mortar and pestle are the indispensable items of the Mizo house. Every Mizo house, the entrance of the house starts with this we call sumhun, which literally means place of mortar and pestle. The Mizo people in ancient life, the main staple food is rice. So every morning they have to husk the rice by the women folks for the day's consumption. The process goes like this. At night time, women folk would place some amount of rice over the fireplace to dry it up. In the morning, it was pounded with this mortar and pestle to unhusk it.
Another cultural aspect is the fact that they use the long pestle for tero, another Mizo traditional dance, when a woman died while giving birth. They believed that using the pestle for a dance instead of bamboo would give her a beautiful journey to the afterlife, to send her away in peace. Actually, this ritual was performed till 1950s in some remote villages. The suk, which is the pestle, was also used as a game item for young men to show off their strength. This game is adopted till today in indigenous sports festivals, though instead of the real pestle, they use bamboos or iron poles. Closely associated with sum and suk, this indigenous game of the Mizo is called insuknor.
Besides, for consumption purpose, the mortars and pestle has much importance regarding the life after death, or let's say the religious belief. It is said that in the ancient times, when a woman died over a child, they believed that the departed soul has to go to a place called the Piaral or Mitikua, which is may call as a abode over there. They believe that when that lady has to proceed for the afterlife, they should have to perform this chero, a particular dance which we normally perform these days by using bamboo staves. But in olden days, it was suk or pestle was used for performing the chero to beat off the departed soul. Besides that, everyday life in the ancient Mizo, we have a Zol book called Men's Dormitory. So boys and men used together and used to play some indigenous games. One of the famous indigenous games is called Insuknor or Insukher, where two persons play with this pestle. Insuknor means to push or to pull by using pestle. Two persons play this game using this pestle.
Mr. Vanal Huma said, Art and Culture Department is making plans to revive the use of Mizo traditional mortar and pestle so that at least it can be preserved as a heritage item, and also to promote artisans and craftsmen who make a living out of making the traditional mortar and pestle. For Northeast Diary, Irene from Aizawl.
Sikkim is gearing up to host the 6th edition of Youth Men's National Boxing Championship 2023 during 12th and 18th June at Gangtok's Paljor Stadium Complex. A report.
Youth Men's National Boxing Championship 2023 will include 13 weight categories from 48 kgs to 91 plus kgs, implying the participation of 13 boxers from each state or union territory. The organizing committee has received over 500 entries so far. Sikkim Olympic Association President Kuber Bandari speaks about the prestigious national tournament to be hosted by the state.
6th Youth Men's National Boxing Championship गैंगटॉक में हो रहा है. इसमें अभी 400 प्लस एथलीट्स का एंट्री आ चुका है और एंट्रीज आने वाला है. हम लोग का टोटल डेलीगेट्स, एथलीट्स, रेफरीज एंड जजेस को टोटल मिला के अबाउट 725 delegates will be here in Gangtok, and this will be held in Palzar Stadium, where 2 rings will be laid. On the opening day, the Honorable Chief Minister of Sikkim will be attending, and on the closing day, Honorable Governor of Sikkim will be attending for the championship.
A 13-member Sikkim team is undergoing rigorous training under the supervision of national coach and Dronacharya awardee Sandhya Gurung at Gangtok's Whitehall. The national championship will be organized by Sikkim Amateur Boxing Association in association with Boxing Federation of India. With Saikat Sarkar, this is Tashogum Bhutia for Akashvani News, Sikkim.
In a first of its kind, Nagaland has got 3 mobile forensic science laboratory FSL vans. The FSL vans were approved by the Ministry of Home Affairs under police modernization in the year 2021-22 to enhance the state police force. A report.
Director General of Police DGP Nagaland Rupin Sharma officially launched the 3 Mobile Forensic Science Laboratory FSL vans at the police headquarters in Kohima on May 1 in the presence of senior police officers and Jawans. DGP Nagaland Sharma said the state police is enhancing its forensic capabilities while the state has a forensic laboratory which is functioning. FSL vans are equipped with crime scene investigation kits like fingerprint kit, latent fingerprint development, foot and tire print casting kit, forensic light source, blood detection kit, semen detection kit, evidence packing and collection kit, DNA collection and sexual assault kit, crime scene cordoning or protection kit, and jacket for scientific staff. The newly launched FSL vans will be kept with the forensic laboratory in Dimapur. For Notice Diary, this is Afanyo from Akashvani News, Kohima.
The Meghalaya government has come up with a unique program to cover almost 50,000 hectares of forest land under the payment of Ecosystem Services, PES. The state government is taking various such initiatives for protection of the environment and to address the challenge of climate change. The objective to introduce the payment for ecosystem services was to address issues concerning livelihood of the people along with conservation of forest. The payment for ecosystem services also aimed to manage natural resources and ecosystem stewardship, wherein the users recompense the conservators for the ecosystem services. Under this program, communities and individuals are paid to conserve forests. The community that provided 125 hectares of forest land would receive 25 lakh rupees from the government to sustain the forest. This would work out to 1.25 crore rupees in 5 years for plowing into economic activities for sustaining livelihood. Chief Minister Conrad K. Sangma, during a function to celebrate the World Environment Day, informed that 17,000 hectares of forest have been conserved under the scheme so far. And the plan is to conserve around 50,000 hectares of forest in the next 5 years. According to the Chief Minister, this will help generate 100 million carbon credits, which could be marketed to boost the state's economy.
I also would like to mention that the PES system, the Payment for Ecosystem Services, this is again another very unique program that this government has done. We plan to expand this in the coming years in a very large scale, and we expect that when these different almost 50,000 hectares of land will come under the Payment for Ecosystem Services, we are working with different agencies so that we can get the carbon credits for this. And hence, this is again a very unique program started by Government of Meghalaya in this scale, which has never happened in any other part of the country. Even just a few days back, I had distributed a large amount of checks to different community, forest areas. One particular community is giving about 125 hectares. So they are receiving about 25 lakhs per year from the government to sustain the forest, which means in the next 5 years, they will get 1.25 crores so that they are able to have economic activity as well as ensure that livelihood is created through different activities. And this would be again dovetailed with many other mission mode programs, whether it be tourism or whether it be agriculture and all these other aspects that we have. I also would like to stress on this fact that we need to realize that the creation of employment through different sectors is very crucial, and environment is going to play a very, very important role in that. Because the environment will be linked with, again, sustainable tourism in the long run.
He also revealed that the government is working with different agencies in order to get the carbon credits. The government has been trying to bring about a change in the environmental sector for collaborating with different departments and getting the community involved.
This effort of the state government will definitely go a long way to protect the forest covers across the state, besides mitigating the problem of climate change. The good part is that the government understands that it cannot achieve this plan to generate carbon credits without community participation at the grassroots level. This is Slamfrang Nuspung for Northeast Diary from AIR News Shillong.
Northeast Diary program, broadcast every Thursday at 5:30 p.m., brings very interesting and enchanting stories from the 8 Indian states of Northeast India. Don't forget to tune in.
Our personality of the week is author and IAS officer Ashish Kundra in conversation with Vinita Thakur.
We welcome Mr. Ashish Kundra, Principal Secretary, Commissioner, Transport, Government Delhi. Someone who is not from Northeast, in a small stint like your tenure, you could do so much out there. You wrote a book which is quite inspiring.
So the title of the book is called A Resurgent Northeast.
Okay.
And I've done 8 years in Northeast. I have been fortunate to have worked in Arunachal and Mizoram.
Okay.
And I did that in 2 stints which were 15 years apart.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, a vantage position to look at things from a temporal perspective. So I could see how things were, things are changing. So, I mean, it inspired me that how people of that region, who for historical reasons have been left behind from the growth story of India, are now bouncing back, and their aspirational youth are now very clearly wanting to integrate with India's growth stories and do their bit and contribute and do well for themselves also. So that's why the aspirational society of Northeast, which is there today, is bustling with energy, is what I have tried to build in that narrative. It's called Narratives of Change.
Okay. And like you said, you were in Arunachal Pradesh and Mizoram.
That's right.
And both the states, in their culture, in their style, in their approach, everything is quite different.
Well, so I went first to Mizoram, which was in the year 2000, and I originally am from Chandigarh. So going to Aizawl at that time was a bit of a cultural shock for me.
Yeah, obviously, yeah.
And, there's different language, different culture, different cuisine, different ecosystem and ethos, and different climate, of course. It was very fascinating at one level to see people who are so quiet, elegant and disciplined.
Yeah.
And at the same time, clear position of women in their economy is something very remarkable. And for me, that was something very unusual and stood out amongst so many other things. And if you go to the marketplace, it's run by women. If you go to the secretariat, it is again run mostly by women. So it was quite a curious thing which I was able to witness at that point in time. 2 tenures in Mizoram and 1 in Arunachal. The second tenure, Mizoram, is far more progressive, far more open and far more embracing of change. And Arunachal Pradesh, of course, is a land of remarkable beauty, remarkable diversity. So you have plains and you have very high mountains, you have rolling hills and you have meadows. Everything that you could ask for in terms of touristic beauty. And similarly, there are 23 districts and each district is kind of distinct tribal identity, different culture, different cuisine again, and therefore the diversity of that state is truly fascinating.
So one solace about Arunachal Pradesh, I feel, is that they speak Hindi, most
true,
of them.
yes.
So that's,
Yes.
for them, acceptance to outsiders is a little easy.
In Mizoram, in my second tenure, I found that Mizos are by nature a very shy community.
Very reserved.
Very reserved.
Yeah.
So it's not as if they are not welcoming.
Yeah.
They are not as expressive perhaps as people from Arunachal are. So Arunachalis are more like Punjabis perhaps.
Yeah, yeah.
And they, you strike friendships very easily. They're very boisterous, even flamboyant at times. And therefore they're very easy to get along with. People in Mizoram, I think you have to kind of immerse yourself in their ethos, win their trust and confidence, and then you make very genuine friends.
What does your book basically deal with it?
So the book is giving the entire developmental landscape. It's a landscape view of unfolding changes in that region. So I have touched upon a bit of history, a bit of the ethnic strife which this region experienced over decades. I've called that the lost decades. And then in the 21st century, I have touched upon how connectivity has improved, how the prospects of trade have improved, how horticulture is becoming now, with exotic crops which are grown in this region is giving an economic opportunity, how this region could be the powerhouse of India with the enormous hydropower potential, how the exquisite beauty of Northeast is giving opportunities for ecotourism, and how people are trying to, in their own way, develop homestays and that kind of a system. What is the uniqueness about women of this region? I have mentioned that. I have talked about entrepreneurship and education as well. Then I've also spoken about, with some candor, about the governance challenge which exists in these parts. In a nutshell, I've tried to weave a narrative of, from an outsider's eye, of what I have seen over time and how I see decisively now that it is on the path where it is on a takeoff stage. And this is a time when development and change will be irreversible. So it was for me a remarkable experience, and that's what I've tried to document.
Oh, you started writing there only?
So I started writing in the last year when I was in Aizawl, and I had some time at hand because I had conducted elections and I was Chief Electoral Officer, so there was not much work on my table. So I started doing some bit of stuff at that time, and then when I came back, then during the lockdown period of COVID, again that gave me an opportunity to think and reflect and write. When I started doing it, I realized that the task was not as simple and straightforward as it seemed, because while I had done 2 states, when you write about 8, then it's slightly more challenging. And I have traveled to all across the Northeast. Tripura is one state which I must admit I have not traveled as much except for the border districts. But yes, I have tried to do justice in my own way to the entire region.
What about Manipur? What was your experience there?
So Manipur also, I have been to Imphal. I have not been to the hill areas. But again, it's a large state, and it is a state which has huge promise and potential. For example, in the region, it is becoming a hub for medical tourism. It is becoming a hub of education. There are a lot of young entrepreneurs who are coming up in that state. And in terms of even horticulture, for example, the Tamenglong orange is extremely delicious.
Northeast in general, it's so mesmerizing that people generally start writing poems. Natural beauty everywhere. It's so picturesque.
It is an easy read, let me put it this way, and it is also peppered with a lot of conversations. So I have tried to build the argument through conversations with people who are of that region. So I've tried to build a storyline. It is a narrative of reality and the unfolding drama of change. So it is a poetic prose.
Oh, that's amazing. So when was it launched?
It was released in the end of March, and there was a formal launch which happened on 21st April, where the Honorable Minister of Urban Affairs, Mr. Hardeep Puri, Mr. Kiran Rijiju was there, Mr. Pema Khandu, Chief Minister of Arunachal was there, Mr. Amitabh Kant was there.
So anything else that you would like to say, something that you might have missed in the book also?
I have tried to pour my heart out there. You can take the man out of the mountains, but never the mountains out of the man.
Yeah, correct. So it's really been wonderful talking to you, sir. But then have a conversation with someone like you who has utilized his time and come up with a wonderful book. I'm sure we'll have a nice time if we get to read it also. So thank you so much for sparing your time, sir.
Thank you very much.
You just heard the author and IS officer Ashish Kundra in conversation with Vinita Thakur. And now we bring you a song capturing the mood of the river Brahmaputra in Assam.
ক্ষণে রুদ্র পলে পলে নব নব চিত্র ও চির প্রবাহিত বই যোৱা ব্ৰহ্মাৰে পুত্ৰ তুমি সৃষ্টিৰে উৎস ও প্ৰণামো ব্ৰহ্মপুত্ৰ নমামি ব্ৰহ্মপুত্ৰ.
With that, we have come to the end of this edition of Northeast Diary. Do join us next week to hear more stories from this enchanting part of India. Until then, goodbye.
तेरी लहरों में पिता की बाहें मिले तेरी बूंदों से फसलों सदियों से तेरे किनारे जीवन का है खजाना तू बहला यूं ही बहला ये धरती सजल कर बहना तू देश के कंधे का है नीला दुशाला नाम ब्रह्मपुत्र नमामि ब्रह्मपुत्र. তোমার লহরে লহরে জীবনৰ জিউটি জলে তোমাৰ নীলিম নয়নতে চেনেহৰে ফুল ফুলে নদীতো নহয় তুমি মহানদ ক্ৰোধিত নহবা হৈ দুৰ্মদ তোমাৰ অবিৰত গতি প্ৰবাহত হয়তো সহিছা যাতনা কত শত তথাপিও গাইছা প্ৰহৰীৰ দৰে সঞ্জীৱনী মন্ত্ৰ প্ৰণামো ব্ৰহ্মপুত্ৰ নমামি ব্ৰহ্মপুত্ৰ ক্ষণে শান্ত তুমি ক্ষণে ৰুদ্ৰ পলে পলে নব নব চিত্ৰ ও চিৰ প্ৰবাহিত বৈ যোৱা ব্ৰহ্মাৰে পুত্ৰ তুমি সৃষ্টিৰে উৎস প্ৰণামো ব্ৰহ্মপুত্ৰ নমামি ব্ৰহ্মপুত্ৰ প্ৰণামো ব্ৰহ্মপুত্ৰ নমামি ব্ৰহ্মপুত্ৰ
This program was scripted and presented by Lucy G. Chattopadhyay, produced by Vinita Thakur with assistance from Kumar Gaurav. It was brought to you by the News Services Division of Akashvani.